I bet you thought we forgot about you, but we didn't. So, set those seat backs and tray tables to their upright and locked position and get ready to jump into a new episode of Direct Edition.
We're back. Like Tommy said, we took a little bit of a break, but we're happy to be back with a new episode of Direct Edition. We've got a lot of stuff that we want to catch up on and, of course, bring you up to speed on our new releases this week. So, we got a lot to talk about. Let's not waste any time. Tommy, how you been? How was Battle of Atlanta?
Battle of Atlanta was awesome. For those of y'all who were there, thanks for showing up. Those of y'all who weren't, still watch it online, truthentertainment.tv, or you can check out our YouTube channel, Truth Entertainment. It's been great, man. We actually we had a good turnout, man. Our Saturday night show was standing room only, which was awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I actually got a lot of compliments. I had some of our long-term partners came in and said, "Man, you guys are doing it right." It's always good to hear that stuff.
Sure,
it really
positive
is.
feedback is always nice to hear.
Totally. So it's always an exhausting week. I have to give a big shout out to my team, Malt Maker Media. They did a great job. ELS Nashville, Truth Entertainment. I mean, we did a great job. It was just a fun weekend. It's always exhausting, but at the same time, we walk away at the end of the day, and I'm just like, whew, we got it done. Good turnout. Very, very happy with it. Looking forward to going forward with it, man. So it's been a good weekend,
Good.
Got some stuff coming up, a few more martial arts tournaments. Our next one is going to be at Springfield, Missouri, the Ozark Mountain Nationals. So
Okay.
We'll be up there in a few weeks towards the end of July.
Mm-hmm.
That will actually be broadcasting, but my brother and I actually have to we're going to go down to Florida to the U.S. Open. Speaking of Florida, you just got back.
I did. I just did a quick turnabout at Disney for the first time again in 5 years. So it was nice to go down, see what's changed, and just kind of relive that. That's because that's our standard vacation.
What was your thing? What did you do?
So Sunday,
Because I know Star Wars Land isn't open yet.
It is not open yet. But
Next trip.
Possibly. So we renewed our annual passes, so we have plenty of time to go back and see that whenever it does open. But we went ahead and did Epcot and Magic Kingdom. Just kind of knocked those
Staples,
out.
we gotta get
Yeah,
those.
and just
Space
kind of a nice
Mountain.
refresher. Yep, definitely. Space Mountain was the last thing that we did before we left. So it was good. Weather could have been a little bit more desirable, but nobody has
Yeah, but
any
it's
control.
Orlando.
Yeah.
You just never know. Like in the morning it's sunny and hot, and in the afternoon it's raining and hot, and in the evening it's sunny and hot. So it's like that's Orlando.
Yeah.
But
the new nighttime show at Magic Kingdom was great because
Yeah.
they got rid of Wishes. They timed that out, which used to be the nighttime fireworks show.
Okay.
And started a new one called Happily Ever After. So new song, new track. Fireworks are still a big deal, but now they have like this animated projection that goes over top of the castle. It's really, really cool.
I am there in 2 weeks for, like I said, another karate tournament, so I will have to make some time, maybe drive over and check
Sure.
that out.
Yeah.
Or take the little bus that they have. So
The buses.
the bus, the wait for the bus. Where'd y'all stay at? Did y'all stay?
Yeah, we usually try and stay on property because there are
Yeah.
some benefits with that.
Uh-huh.
So we stayed at the Caribbean Beach, which is a huge resort. Most of the resorts that we've stayed at, whether it's been the Yacht Club, Wilderness Lodge, Grand Floridian, everything's usually pretty contained. But the Caribbean Beach, they have blocks of their hotels spread out over the entire property, and they're supposed to be like the different islands. So you have Trinidad, Aruba, so forth and so on. So we were of course at the farthest one from the front office, but it was nice otherwise. It was a nice hotel. Definitely one for like families and kids. There's a lot to do, but yeah, we usually try and stay on property.
Yeah, same here. We're always at the Coronado Springs, so.
Okay.
And then we just, hop the little bus and go wherever we want to, because once I get there, I don't want to move my truck, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested though, because while we were there, Caribbean Beach might actually be a property to watch out for because they've added the new Skyliner.
Okay.
So normally at Disney outside of the buses or the boats on the lake, they had the monorail. The monorail would go to Magic Kingdom or some of the closer properties in Epcot. Well, the Skyliner is now kind of like the ski lift scenario, and one of the stops is at Caribbean Beach and has a direct connection to Hollywood Studios.
It's a win for everybody.
Yeah, particularly with Galaxy's Edge coming at the end of August.
Oh my gosh! Like, who out there, put the comments in, is excited about Galaxy's Edge? They keep popping stuff up left and right out there. So obviously they're hyping up the Millennium Falcon ride, which who is not going to be? I'm going to be in line for that one. You know, you can build your own lightsaber. There's all the characters. There's the cantina. I mean, it's like, you know, every Star Wars fanboy's dream is to live that experience. And it's been a long time coming. So if Disney has done anything right with acquiring the Star Wars property, it's like giving us that
Giving us a park.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, tell me about the shop, man. What's going on at the shop?
Let's see.
I haven't been there in like 2 weeks because of all this karate stuff. So
Yeah.
eager to get back. I know I've probably got a stack of books like this to go pick up. So what's over there? What's going on, man?
We've just been rock and roll with the normal stuff. We had a fairly good week this week in terms of releases, but next week, which we'll get to later, is intense. Like, it is a dense week. There are a lot of good releases coming
Next
out
week?
next
Yeah.
week, or rather, well, when this airs, this week.
Of course. I know. It's like I saw the list and it was almost the entire page.
So yeah, we'll blaze through that when we get a second. But yeah, things are just kind of proceeding.
It looks like
as normal.
the publishers are kind of playing catch up. It's like, hey, we haven't put out a lot recently, but here you go.
Yeah.
Here's all your books.
Well, I think part of it is because with it being summer, a lot of people travel.
course.
I can't tell you how many people came in at the beginning, edge of the summer, where they were getting ready to travel and do their vacation and front load their summer. Where I had folks coming in, I need something to read on the plane, I need something to read in the car. So it's just putting out a lot of different options. And we are starting to get into the meat of summer blockbuster month. So there are a lot of entertainment options out there. So I think they kind of just come forward and saying, well, we got stuff too.
I do think we'll get back a little bit more to the summer blockbusters coming up, a little bit later in the show, because there's a couple things we want to talk about and a big announcement that came out, this week. So I'm excited to talk about those. Also excited about talking about the new releases, which is what's coming up next, guys. So stay tuned, find out what books are coming so you can show up at your store and make sure you get every issue that you want. All right, Jared?
All right.
We'll be back in a second.
This was the tournament to win for decades. No matter what else you had done, if you had not won the Battle of Atlanta, you were just a good competitor.
2016, we came here and then, wow, it was huge. First time in my life to see lots of people.
There's just an excitement about the whole venue. It's just a real energy at the battle.
All I ever hear is how smoothly everything's run, how much care the judges have for what they do.
The night show is so exciting, it's so fun, and it's all bright and it just seems happy.
People are very friendly, kind. It's more like a family,
I really enjoy that I get to push myself every year at this tournament.
It's like a constant level up. Everyone throws the craziest stuff. It's super hype. It's super high energy. I love it.
And welcome back. Before we jump into the new releases, I want to give a big shout out to Johannes Gutwald from Germany, my good friend who competed at the Battle of Atlanta. Hooked me up with the Gym League Flash Pop, man. Thank you so much. It's going to sit right here on the table because I think it's awesome and I want to share it. So, Jared, are you ready, man? Let's jump right into those new releases because it is a big list. So
it is.
Get your pen and paper out. Let's talk about it, get them down, and I want to hear what everybody has to say this week. All right?
All right, guys. For the week of June 26th, I believe, we have from DC Comics, Action Comics number 1012. I love the cover on this one. It's really cool. It's kind of like a top-down view of Superman flying through the clouds. I might just pick it up for the cover. It's really neat. Batman Beyond number 33. Batman Damned number 3. Now this is a book that was bi-monthly, has been delayed, and is finally coming out. We've talked about this book in the past, and we'll round out this story, so we're very excited to see what happens. Detective Comics number 1006, Flash number 73, continuing the Year 1 storyline, Justice League Dark number 12, Martian Manhunter number 6, Terrifics number 17, and Wonder Woman number 73. So that'll take care of DC for the week. Marvel, we have Age of X-Man Extremis number 5. This is a tie-in series to the Age of X-Man story arc that they've been doing. Amazing Spider-Man number 24, Avengers number 20, Black Panther number 13, Conan the Barbarian number 7. I've been actually kind of really interested in Conan the Barbarian since Marvel picked it up. I like Jason Aaron as an author. I think this would be a really cool something to check out and just kind of continue on with. Doctor Strange number 15, Fantastic Four number 11, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 8, Major X number 6, Mr. and Mrs. X number 12, Spider-Man Reptilian Rage number 1. Now this is going to be a one-shot. Some of these in this week's list in the coming weeks are going to go ahead and be one-shots. I know a couple weeks back they also did Incredible Hulk Last Call. So I'm interested to see why they're putting out these one-shots and doing these tie-ins, if they are tie-ins. But this is one that I'll probably check out as well. Star Wars Age of Rebellion Darth Vader number 1 will end the Age of Rebellion arc. And I mean, it's Darth Vader. Why not pick it up? Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the park, of course, has a tie-in as well. It's a 5-issue miniseries, and number 3 will be out this week. Thanos number 3, Thor number 14, and get ready, guys, we're heading up towards the end of War of the Realms. So sit tight, we have War of the Realms number 6. This is the final issue of the main story. War of the Realms, New Agents of Atlas number 4, War of the Realms Punisher number 3, and War of the Realms Uncanny X-Men number 3. These will all be the end of those individual series and tie-ins, so we are reaching the end of the story. Wolverine Exit Wounds number 1 is again one of those one-shots that we talked about with both Incredible Hulk Last Call and Spider-Man Reptilian Rage, and X-Men Grand Design Extinction number 2. Image Comics, we have Ascender number 3, Deadly Class number 39, Headlopper number 12, and Izola number 8. I love Izola. Have you read Izola yet?
I have not.
It's kind of like reading a Miyazaki film. It's really kind of neat.
Interesting.
Kick-Ass number 15, Redneck number 21, Spawn number 298, and Weatherman Volume 2 number 1. Now, I haven't read the Weatherman series, but I know you've picked it up in the past, and I have a couple other clients that read it too. It looks interesting. Maybe we'll talk more about that later.
About it, yeah.
Dark Horse, we have Stranger Things 6 number 2. This is again that prequel series of one of the other experiments from the Stranger Things universe. And over at Boom Studios, we have Angel number 2, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 40, beginning the Necessary Evil storyline, and Steven Universe number 29.
What a list.
Yeah.
The only thing I think more exhausting you reading that list is I know you're going to have to go through all those things and get your pulls out.
Yep.
You know, so it's like it's going to be a...
And editing that list.
Oh,
Sorry.
Man. But for those of you out there looking to get your comic books, I know your local comic book shop is going to be excited for you to show up, pick up those books, and ask for something new, because there's a lot on that list, and I'm like, okay, you've got me sold. And this is why Jared's a great comic book shop dealer, because like you're talking about Action Comics, and I'm like, okay, the cover sounds awesome.
You're
probably going to have some
it.
Virgin covers, and I want one.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just because I like sometimes get those with the artwork, and I like to have them, put them in frames, and I'm kind of nerdy like that. So,
yeah.
Man, I'm my picks are, you know, obviously Detective,
sure.
Flash. I'm going to continue that storyline. I'm going to get Batman Damned number 3 because I've got the first 2, and why not? So, just want to round out the series, just like most of you out there who are collecting those. But might pick up some of the Star Wars books. I've been picking up some of those, and then yeah, Weatherman Volume 2 number 1. I actually enjoyed the first volume. Yeah. This is Jody Lehip. It's the same writer from Shirtless Bear Fighter.
Okay. Well, now I have to pick it up.
Now you've got to pick it up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Now I know that. Now I got to pick that up.
It's a really interesting it's set in Mars. You know, it's a very futuristic, kind of wacky, a lot of humor, you know, a lot of action. So if you haven't picked it up, I'd highly recommend The Weatherman. It's a really fun book, and the artwork's really good too. So,
Awesome.
I enjoyed the first arc. Sometimes it kind of took me in places I wasn't expecting, but I think that's the magic of the story because it kind of just keeps you on your toes because you're not sure what to do. I think it'd be actually a really cool,
Show.
Netflix show or
cool.
film. You know, people say about a lot of comic books, but I actually would like to see something like that. It's just got a cool title, but it has. So when you get into it, it's like, oh, I see why this is what it is. It's a cool book. So if you haven't picked it up, pick up The Weatherman. Those are things in my pull list, and just when I go through, I always like to hit the shelf too, just to see if there's something that piques my interest. You mentioned what's the one? Just the Asaki.
Isola.
Isola. And that sounds interesting too. I haven't read any of that.
I think we have.
I said Asaki. I don't know where I got that.
Miyazaki in the Studio Ghibli films, where it's like Howl's Moving Castle and things like that. It feels like you're reading that. Even
is that the artwork I'm looking at?
Yeah,
okay.
as well. The art definitely evokes a lot of that kind of spirit and visual. But I know that there's a trade paperback of that out, so if you want to pick up the first 6 issues, you can do that. But it's neat. It's a nice kind of departure from, again, the typical standard fare of superheroes and supervillains and doing all that.
I like a break from that every once in a while.
Yeah, it's a nice break. I know, like I said, I don't typically read a lot of Superman books, but I'm definitely probably going to pick up Action Comics just because of the cover. I'll definitely be getting Batman Damned, continuing on with Flash, because I love the Year One storyline so far. It's been a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun.
I'll finish out War of the Realms. I'll probably pick up Power Rangers number 40. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff to choose from, and like you mentioned, it's always a good idea to go ahead and browse the shelves just in case you miss something, either something that you didn't know was coming out or something from past weeks.
Yeah. Superman's been a little slow coming out. I think mostly because Bendis is writing it, and he's all over the place right now. He's got a ton of books out there that he's writing, and he's been a huge addition to the DC universe. And but I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed what he's put out. So I'm kind of curious. I mean, I've actually enjoyed the Action Comic series, and it's not Flash or Batman, but it's something else I'll pick up. It's something I'll get, kind of like when I want to pick up Super Sons.
When the mood strikes.
Mood strikes.
Yep.
I like to keep up with Supes.
Yeah.
You got to keep up with some of these characters.
Sure, because otherwise they get away from you.
I used to keep up with a lot of them, like Aquaman and Green Lantern and Wonder Woman, but man, my pull list got so big, I just felt guilty. And it'd take me forever to go through all the books because.
Well, and that's the thing. Like a lot of times, reading in comic books, it's just kind of this fluctuation and rubber banding, where you'll read a lot and you'll stretch, and then you'll get to a point where you're like, nah, but am I really enjoying this? Am I really following it? If budgets become a concern, then you kind of pare down, and then you find your sweet spot, and then new stuff comes out. And you stretch, and you stretch, and you stretch. So that's always a fun thing to watch, particularly when you hit that peak of when there's a lot of good stuff and good quality coming out, and people are really responding to it.
I gotta know, anybody out there have a hard time getting through their books? Because that's me. Sometimes I have a hard time getting them because I'm so excited about reading them. I always stack them up. And see, I have that quandary where I want to read a lot, but I also like to collect. So it's like I'm kind of juggling that art, but. I showed a friend my comic collection the other day. They go, man, you got a lot of books. And they're like, have you actually read all these? And the truth is, I've read probably 98%, maybe 99% of the books that I have. I'd say there's a handful of them that are in my, my boxes that I just stuck in there. I didn't ever read them. But, over the course of my life, I've pretty much read all of them, I can't say I have 10,000 books because that would just be crazy in my opinion. But I have quite a few. They take up almost half my closet because of just the number. And actually I think I need to buy another long box, Jared. So
we got those.
Yeah. I'm kind of partial to the BCW stuff.
Yeah, BCW is great.
They have great. I think they have great. You're partial to the plastic bins.
Yeah,
I'm fine with just the regular, cardboard long boxes because they're easy to put together and easy to transport.
And most of them are relatively the same. I'm sure there might be some quality difference or some price differential. But and if somebody knows out there, please correct me or let me know. But for the most part, most of the white cardboard boxes, whether it's BCW or Comic Care or Comic Defense, they seem pretty much all the same. But you like what you like and you stick with what you stick with. That's the one thing about, comic fans and comic readers is loyalty is a big deal to us. You know, you're loyal to your store, you're loyal to your brands,
your books, and it's all good.
And the other thing too is we're not afraid to venture out and try new things too. You know, we get folks that, if you're exclusively DC and you're like, well, let me try something new. We might hook you up with something from Image or Marvel, or
for sure.
There's usually not too much of that line in the sand.
That's
situation.
a good point. For those of you out there watching, 100%, do not hesitate to ask if you're wanting to venture out, like you're kind of getting stagnant with, say, what you're reading. Always go up to your comic retailer and say, hey, look, I'm looking for something different. I'm kind of tired of superheroes. I'm looking for something a little bit more sci-fi, a little bit more adventurous, or I really want to connect with something. Sometimes it's just getting that recommendation and say, hey, you know what? I've been reading, Shirtless Bear Fighter, and it's been great. It's been funny, I always recommend it like when the Flintstone series was out, a few years ago. I loved that series.
It was great.
It was so funny. It was so relevant.
I wish Jetsons would have been as good as Flintstones.
I do too. I was actually anticipating that, and I was a little, but Flintstones, hands down. If you haven't picked it up, there are trades out there, so go get it, pick it up, ask Jared for it.
Yep.
We will 100%, I recommend that book. So again, if you also want us to give our opinions on your books, ask us for something. We'll tell you what we think. So you can take it for what it's worth, but I'm happy to give some recommendations on, because people ask me all the time, hey, where can I start? Or where can I pick up? And I have a ton of things. It just kind of has to be what people ask me,
And that's the thing. Each individual person always has those kind of front-loaded, ready to go titles or stories that they have at the ready for recommendations, because we know what we like and we're willing to recommend them to others based on what they kind of bring to the table or say, hey, I'm interested in XYZ. That's what I do at the shop all the time. I had a client come in late last week who was shopping for himself and was with his partner, and she was asking just general questions. She's like, I'm a bit of a skeptic. I like to read books with words, and not in a derogatory or demeaning way. She was being tongue-in-cheek about it, and she was great. But we got to talking about it of, well, what are some of your interests? Maybe we just haven't found the right thing for you yet. So I recommended her Monstrous and Rat Queens, and we'll probably talk about Rat Queens later today. And I'm excited to see if and when they come back, what she says. Because she seemed really excited when she left with them. So, we always have those kind of things in the back of our mind where we're like, oh, you want to read comic books? Here's 5.
Speaking of which, we have had a lot of recommendations today, but we've got special topics to discuss in our next segment, so don't run off, stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Let me tell you something that my father told me. He said, listen carefully, son. If you take nothing else I say to heart for the rest of my life, then let this be the last. The human spirit is fire. Fire can be fueled, made to burn hotter, or it can be extinguished. A challenge is nothing more than the world asking you a question. How you answer the question, that's what can snuff out your fire. That's what can stoke it. It's a choice you make, not what the world makes for you. That lesson is one that stayed with me my whole life. And I hope it's one that stays with you.
Welcome back, everyone. June is Pride Month. Now, we're going to take a few minutes and we're going to go over a few comic books, or Jared's going to go over a few comic books that really represent this month and help people trying to find their niche, and some great stories out there, Jared, right?
Yeah,
To
absolutely.
celebrate this month. I mean, and just for those individuals who may be looking for just a little bit of something in this genre, you know, so.
Yeah, comic books have done really well and has always kind of been an outlet for those in the LGBT plus community. There are still some that don't fully represent their interests or our interests, but for those that do promote inclusivity and representation, have put out wonderful stories. You know, of course, there have been heroes like from Marvel. North Star from the X-Men was one of the first gay superheroes and icons, although they couldn't outwardly say it at the time because of the Comics Code Authority. It was heavily implied and has kind of, you know, grown to expand that list. You know, recently with the New 52, you know, when they were doing the Earth 2 storyline, Alan Scott's Green Lantern came out as gay. Marvel unfurled that layer from Iceman as well. There was some chagrin on it, saying like, oh, well, you can't just change a character like that. But when you go back and you read the story, this Iceman from the past said, well, I could either be a mutant or I could be gay, but internally for myself, I couldn't reconcile being both. But if you are a member of the LGBT community, if you're an ally, or if you're just interested in good stories that happen to have that representation and inclusivity, I brought a couple titles today that I'd like to share. There's still some others that I didn't have on hand that I want to mention also. But yeah, let's go ahead and...
yeah, and I have some stuff. Well, let's jump in. I have some questions.
Sure,
but I'm going to ask
absolutely.
you those. Let's go through the list. Let's
Yeah,
see what's out there, because I do recognize a lot of these titles, and I haven't. You know, I've always been interested in Lumberjanes, but I've never picked up the books.
Yeah.
Mostly just because I have a ton of books that I read. But I mean, I've seen a lot of these in the stores.
Yeah.
So what we got here, man?
So some of these quick little guides that we have, they're just small little pocket guides. They're like manga sized. They're quick, easy guides, either for allies or people that want to be more conscientious and more aware of the surroundings and the people that they engage with. So we have a quick, easy guide to they, them pronouns. This is for individuals who may identify as non-binary or non-gendered, that would prefer to be identified as they, them.
The world's worst at pronouns. The world's worst.
But as long as you try,
yeah.
you know.
I always reference everything in the male, like, hey guys, you know. And
sure.
When I should say, hey ladies, you know, that's just, and
yeah.
I do try to be conscious of it sometimes, because you just never know who's going to get sensitive, but I'm also very aware of some of my things, but it's just, you know, sometimes you just, you know.
I prefer y'all.
I am very good at y'all.
We are Southern, and it has big cowboy energy, so you're always good to go with
hey, y'all.
y'all.
Hey, y'all.
But yeah, they got these little,
Cool.
you know, graphics in here, and they may discuss, you know, from individuals that are trying or would like to be more informed in how to better approach or address those situations. So that's why we have and we like these. And then we also have one for queer and trans identities. So for either those individuals of that community that would like to, you know, have their thoughts and viewpoints heard, this is also a good book for that as well. But into more of the less infotainment and just entertainment, these are some books that feature a lot of and represent those communities. So Rat Queens we've talked about on the show endlessly, and is one of my favorites. This is a high fantasy romp, so kind of akin to D&D, Lord of the Rings. It's an all-female adventuring party. And one of the party members is a halfling or hobbit lesbian, and one of the other party members is a trans orc. So there is representation of those communities in this book, but it's also a lot of fun because they're mercenaries, heroes for hire. They try to do well, but they all come with their own baggage and are incredibly broken, but do right by each other and others because they're still heroes of a sort.
Cool.
Wicked and Divine is a fantastic book. It is basically the concept is the gods from all sorts of different pantheons come to Earth and live on Earth for about 2 years, and then they mysteriously die. This book has been going on now for 8 volumes. It's actually coming up
Been
on
out for a hot minute.
Yeah, it's coming out on its final run. But Kieran Gillen, I've talked about him in the past. He writes the Die series that I've currently been reading. He's done a run on Star Wars and Darth Vader for Marvel. But this has a very Mod Squad kind of British pop feel to it that I always like, because most of the gods are rock stars, and that's how they go to church and get their worship, by holding these concerts and things like that. So I like it. I need to reread it because when I did, I think it was at a time where I was really into my superheroes, so it didn't really, I enjoyed it and I could see why it was good, but it didn't really feel that satisfying itch. But again, representations of all sorts, because they're gods. They can do what they want.
Yeah, of course.
Lumberjanes is a fun one. This is I don't know if I want to necessarily call it an all ages title per se. It's fun. It's accessible. You're not going to usually have a whole lot of violence or curse words or things like that. But it's an all-girls summer camp. They deal with the supernatural. 2 of the characters are in a relationship, and it's just kind of a fun. It's got that kind of like Gravity Falls feel. So for folks that are fans of the Gravity Falls show over on Disney, would also enjoy this. And then this one's just for me, and it's really fun. It's called Dream Daddy. Dream Daddy, the book was actually based...
This is a dad dating comic book.
Yep, a dad dating comic book. This was a video game that came out on Steam that will eventually actually be released on the Switch, I believe, here soon, and mobile platforms. But it's done by Game Grumps. It was just a fun kind of visual novel where players can create their dad and date other dads, but it wasn't exclusive to gendered males that were born that way. You can also opt in to make a trans dad as well, but it's just fun. You meet the dads. They all have like their archetypes. Like there's goth dad, there's one up dad, but it's a fun game, and these are just a collection of short stories.
Needless to say, there's endless variety out there for sure. Well, those are great. Some of those books I have been interested, like The Wicked and the Vine. I've heard a lot of great things about it, and haven't, just whatever the case, haven't picked it up. So I'm going to be the controversial one. I'm going to ask a couple of hard questions here.
Sure.
So there's a lot of controversy out there sometimes when we change a character. A lot of people are like, why are you changing the character? And sometimes, for me, I think it does make sense. Then there's sometimes I'm like, hey, why are we changing the character just to fit a certain demographic? Because, for example, Sulu was changed in the new films. It's sort of to kind of give a shout out to George Takei.
Sure.
And even he was a little bit, hey, don't change the character. So my question is, how do you feel about that? How do we, and how do you all at home feel about some of those things? Because, I'm a big character guy, and sometimes I like my character. Now, with Alan Scott, I kind of giggle a little bit because here you got this guy whose biggest, the thing he can't fight is wood.
Well,
that was a whole, Kevin Smith actually made a comment about that. And I was like, okay. But to me, I was like, I don't care about Alan Scott. And Iceman, it makes sense too. But some of these characters, I'm like, does it make sense to change the character just for the sake of changing a character?
Well, I don't know if it's about changing. It might be about discovering. So like I said, I kind of walk back, to the Iceman portion where he said, I can either be this or I can be this, but I can't be both. Or at least that was his thought process at the time. But when he came to a point where he could reconcile both of those, then that's what he decided to move forward with. So I think that's the key differential there. It's not about changing, it's about discovering.
That's a good point.
Because, and there are so many flexibilities, or there are so many there's so many places along the spectrum of, you know, sexuality or identity that someone could fall. So like, you know, you had mentioned Sulu. You know, if in the original series there were instances where, you know, he was seen interacting or engaging with women, or, you know, and it wasn't at the time seen with men, he could identify as bisexual, he could identify as pansexual. And let's be honest, if you're living in a you know, sci-fi space future time and you're not doing the Kirk and getting freaky with aliens too, then everyone's a little pansexual.
It has to be. I mean, Lando was in the new
the
new Solo film.
Absolutely.
And you know, and Star Trek is a huge franchise that really has no fear about touching these borders. I mean, not so much in the original series, definitely Next Generation. You know, they had a whole episode, and it was actually a great episode when it came to this, and that was one of those, because in the original series, the biggest thing they dealt with was race, you know, and then the Next Generation was like, okay, we're going to do this whole gender conversation.
Sure.
And coming out in the 80s, that's a giant leap, you know. You know, we could watch it now and go, okay,
sure,
we're not really thinking about it. But in the time period, you're thinking like, oh, they're really pushing the boundaries on this episode.
And they did for the most part. There were a little bit of resistance, you know, behind the scenes with some producers and some individuals, because up and until Discovery with Anthony Rapp's character, no character in Star Trek had come out and actually said the words, "I am gay." So that is actually, you know, well, yes, they have pushed the boundaries in some regards, and there were some allusions to. It was never explicitly brought out until recently with Discovery.
And I think a lot of that, you know, it's just Star Trek does like to push those boundaries, but, you know, I think also the networks have gotten a little bit more.
They try.
You know, they've gotten a little bit more open. It's a little bit more, there's not as much restrictions on those things, so, you know, we can push those boundaries. Yeah, like I said, those were some great characters. I like, and I always like to kind of figure out, because I want to make sure, like, when I'm reading something that makes sense. You know, I'm reading Paper Girls, and they've got two characters that are literally discovering themselves, you know? And these are two characters who, they're in a sci-fi film, or sci-fi genre, and they're, like, traveling through time.
Yeah.
But they're from the 80s, you know? Two young ladies in the 80s. Like, this is a big conversation. So, like, to really kind of get into that, they're like...
Because you have to take that 80s mentality, and now they're free from those, and they're, you know, restrictions, but they're also teenagers. They're discovering, you know, what that means to live and explore and do those things. And I'm glad you brought up Paper Girls, because I regret not bringing it with me, because that was one of the ones that I was thinking about. There was also Merry Men, which is a ton of fun. Merry Men from Oni Press was actually drawn by a good friend of mine. She's local, and we might have her on at some point. Jackie Lewis kind of takes the idea, because there's some historical context for the possibility that Robin Hood and his Merry Men were a group of LGBT individuals that were actually exiled, and that's why they lived in the woods. So, and there's some historical
not because they didn't pay their taxes.
Not just because they didn't pay their taxes. But yeah, it was a nice take on that, and it wasn't like a fictionalization, because the book does actually include some historically researched documentation also, which is really cool.
All right, that sounds really cool. So, you know, no matter what you are, like you said, whether you're discovering or you're an ally or you're, you know, just looking for something fun to read, there's a lot of information out there, you know. And again, go to your local comic shop dealer who has a vast knowledge of this information and can say, hey, I can recommend these books, you know, because there is, like I said, from all angles of the spectrum, we got something, we can do something for everybody.
Yeah, and like I said, at the bare minimum, if you're just looking for something fun that happens to be inclusive, then, you know, we can find those things.
And I've read some of these books, and they are a ton of fun.
Yeah.
They're great stories, they're great adventures. You know, so just whatever's out there for people. If you want to share, you want to tell us what your favorites are, put those comments in there, like, subscribe.
Yep. And like I said, you know, the internet's a good resource too. You could Google, you know, top 25 LGBT comic books and, you know, come up with a bunch of stuff. But I think that's about it for what I have on Pride Month, you know, but...
we came in under the radar. We told people in our last episode we were going to discuss Pride Month. We took 2 weeks off, and I was like, we were like,
Yeah, we did promise that at the beginning of the month.
And I was like, look, man, it's not, I was like, I gotta take 2 weeks off. I got too much to do.
Yeah.
We got in.
We did. We made
it.
Well, good. Well, I think we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll wrap up the show. All right, guys, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey, we're back, guys. So, it's our first episode back. I think we did a great job coming back into it after being gone for 2 weeks, but it's good to be back. I mean, I miss doing the show. This is a lot of fun. I know people, you've had some people come in the store asking for stuff because of things they've seen on the show, which is, for us, it's like, yes, people are actually watching it, A, and B, they're actually finding valuable information. So, I mean, I think that's the big thing about this show is like we're really trying to present information about the comic book world, the geek world, for people who either trying to get into it or want to understand it more, or really just looking for, like I said, they're in it, but they want to know, hey, I'm kind of bored with what I'm doing. Let me try something new. Because you had a guy come in literally in one breath said, hey, I want to get this comic book because you mentioned it on the show, and hey, also there was a game. I was like, great, that's awesome. I actually was.
I think it's doing what we had hoped it would do, and hope that it continues to grow, and that is all thanks to you guys. The more that you, our audience, continue to share the page, let other people know that we're here and this is what we're doing, and get them to also like and subscribe. We do also still have that Harley Quinn pop that we'd love to give away.
Yeah, that nobody claimed. Come on, people. It's autographed by the lovely Tara Strong.
I think after this episode, if we get into July, we'll still go ahead and give it away.
Yeah, of course.
So we'll just do a random gen number of our subscribers, and then we'll be in touch. So, thank you all so much for, tuning in and being here with us, and we hope that you continue to be here with us when we hit episode 100.
So, a couple things before we wrap out today. There's a couple things going on that I think we should talk about. So, Avengers is re-releasing Endgame, apparently with some new footage.
All 2.5 minutes of it?
So what? We'll be there for the 2.5 minutes. 3
guess.
hours and 2.5 minutes.
I guess. But I'm going to be real bitter if it's just a stinger trailer for Far From Home. Because Far From Home comes out like in 2 weeks.
It comes out on a Tuesday.
Yeah,
because it's 4th of July weekend. I get that. So it makes sense. But
wait, 4th of July is on a Tuesday?
No, 4th of July is on a Thursday.
Oh, okay.
The release is on a Tuesday. No.
I was real worried about my polls for a second.
No, people have plenty of time. So your polls will come out on the 3rd. So we'll have another episode of this by then.
The Wednesday comes out, but you have to remember, I always get my deliveries on a Tuesday.
So Tuesday is the same day. You have a long day of doing your polls. Go watch Far From Home. We'll be able to talk about it on Direct Edition. And then, I'm anxious to see what they do with Endgame. There's just a lot of cool content coming out this summer. Because I've been so busy, I've been kind of stagnant in my movie watching. I've caught up on a lot of my TV shows. Handmaid's Tale's back out, so I've been watching that. What else am I doing? I finished The Flash for the year. I need to go back and finish Arrow. Anybody else watch Arrow? Anybody else watch Arrow out there?
Nope.
Stranger Things.
Oh yeah,
it's coming out.
That'll be out
couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So exciting. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming up in the next few weeks that we all want to be a part of, and I think we have to get caught up. I have to get caught up on some of my books so I can actually talk a little bit more about some of these things, because people ask us. People are asking us like, hey, what do we think? What do you think? Did you like this is episode 7?
No, I don't. I don't believe it's episode 7.
It is episode 7 already. Have we not taken it off 2 weeks, we'd be at episode 9.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
But we try to stay consistent with this. I think it's a great little resource for people out there. We're going to hashtag everything we can to make sure people can find what they're looking for. And then, we want to hear some topics. We want to get, people have legitimately asked us questions that we've been able to answer on the show. So whatever questions you have out there, whether it's regarding comic books or some of the topics we discussed here on the show, whether it's just a general nerd question, happy to answer, because I get a lot of nerd questions, believe it or not. I don't know if it's because, I just have that look on my face.
I wear a lot of nerdy T-shirts. So it's usually
nerdy T-shirts.
An invitation to ask me.
I do too.
Questions.
Just sometimes I have to kind of put a button up because I actually have to go to work after this. But yeah, I like to wear my nerd stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good. Well, I don't think we have anything else for the week.
It's been a busy day with some of the stuff we've talked about. I hope that people have found some valuable information. And today, obviously a huge pull list for this week. So
Yes.
I'm sure comic book stores are going to be stocking up on a few of those things, but hey, don't wait. If you're looking for a title, call your store, ask them to hold it, say I'll be there in an hour and I'm going to pick it up, but don't be that guy that doesn't come pick it up, or gal.
We hype on, we may harp on that, but honestly, everyone's flexible, and
Totally.
but that's why subscribing is so important.
It is
If you
important.
subscribe at a local comic shop, then generally they'll hold it for you for quite a while. So
Yeah, some of them hold them for a couple of months.
yeah, but yeah, don't sweat on that. We really don't mean to harp on it. We know that things come up, and like I said, I do that at my shop too. I know that life, family, health, things can get in the way, and no one's gonna hold it against you.
All right, everybody. We thank you so much.
Yeah, that's it. Another episode down, and we'll be back next week. As always, geek responsibly.